Hello. In today's episode of Angie's India, my guest today needs no introduction. He's one of India's most famous, powerful lawyers and parliamentarian, a media personality, a author, a family man, and many sides to the one and only Mr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi. There are many feathers and he has gained in his cap through his multiple cases, and not only cases and legal aspect is only one aspect of his career. What the others don't know is he's one of the most known media personalities, parliamentarians. Everybody goes to him for advice. He's a mentor, he's a guide, and he helps any and everyone who's a friend to him. Let me introduce to you today my guest, Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi. Hello, how are you?
It was very kind of you, very generous.
The introduction I gave actually was so brief because there are so many things I can say about you, and anyone can. So many perfect adjectives, and whatever you say, we all fall short because you've always been an inspiration to all the legal fraternity, to all the lawyers, and anyone who knows you knows that one of the most, anytime there is a very serious case in this country or problem or controversial episode, they all come to you knocking at your door. That's only one side of your beautiful, amazing life's journey. The other side, life journey, which I really admire, is how you help people, how you always have also gone out to explain in your books and mentor and guide young entrepreneurs, lawyers, and people in this country. My main reason for the show, Angie's India, is to talk about people who've contributed to the welfare of the country. And I truly believe that you are one of India's shining stars. So I would like to ask you my first question. But before that, if you could tell me, according to you, what is your, out of all these so many wonderful aspects and feathers in your cap, which one is your personal favorite?
Let me start by thanking you, Angie. And it's nice to be on a brand new, yet to be fully released show. I wish you all success in your new initiatives and endeavors.
Thank you.
I'm reminded of a little joke about a person who, like you, introduced his guest in very glowing terms. And when his turn came to speak, as it is now my turn, the guest speaker started by seeking two forgivenesses. One for you, for having clearly exceeded the bounds of truth. And the other one for myself, for having enjoyed it so much. So generous was your introduction. But I have had the joy and the bane in my life of what I call multitasking.
Yes.
It's been a bane and a joy in the life. Multitasking is somehow it's been with me ever since I went into my late 20s and early 30s.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great learning curve if you're doing multitasking, because when you do different things,
yes,
you learn a lot. It is also a negative because it puts a lot of pressure on you.
Yes.
You are more concerned about the fact that you'll miss something rather than the content of it. But I've now gone past that. I enjoy what I do. I am habituated to that. And what I miss out, I don't regret. But it's a very difficult question. As they say, law itself is a very jealous mistress. It needs constant phoning and very zealous working at it. But then public life also, I don't like the word politics very much, but public life, having been now in Parliament for 3 terms, is equally exciting. So they're all, it's difficult, it's like choosing between different children.
That's true.
And but I will say one thing, that what had given me the most pleasure in the early years, something which I abandoned, was really academic studies.
Okay.
And had I not come back to India and plunged into active legal work, you might have found me in the secluded but highly, unreal corridors, cloistered corridors of a place like Cambridge,
right,
which is fantastic for self-introspection and for solitude and for working hard, but not necessarily, it's too much of a fairy tale town.
Yes. I myself am an interior architecture graduate from New York, FIT, and I read that you have been to Harvard and you did your law at Harvard University.
That's not strictly correct. As I always mention in my CV, I had finished undergrad, postgrad, PhD, everything at Cambridge.
All right.
After I finished, I wanted to consider doing something else, so I got in touch with Lawrence Tribe, a very famous law professor there.
Okay.
At that time. And he said that, look, you've done your PhD. What do you want to come here for? There's nothing left to do now. And he joked with me, he says, the original Cambridge you are from, because Cambridge, Massachusetts is really after the Cambridge, UK.
Yes.
Named after Cambridge, UK.
Yes.
So he said, since you want to come for a summer program. So I only went for a summer program after my PhD.
Okay.
So my association with Harvard is very peripheral, but I've been there.
Okay.
More importantly, I've spoken there many more times after that.
All right.
So without being a regular student. But I was a PhD at Cambridge and undergrad at Cambridge, etc., etc.
So you did your schooling in India?
Yes, I did a little bit of schooling where I was born in Jodhpur. But in 1962, my father was elected to the Lok Sabha. So we shifted from Jodhpur to Delhi in 1962. And from 62 onwards, from kindergarten, which is just the entry point of school, I've been a loyal Columban, as they call them, St. Columbus School. We got a house as a member of parliament very near to where now is Meridian Hotel. There was no Meridian Hotel in those days.
Okay.
And my school was hardly 2 kilometers away on Golda Khana.
Okay.
So I went from KG to class 11.
Okay.
And since you asked me, let me add something which I frequently say. In a sense, life has been downhill ever since school, because you can't really outdo my performances at school.
Okay.
In that sense, you could always say that life is downhill, not uphill after school, because I topped all the 5 sections of class 9.
Wow.
Then I topped all the 5 sections of class 10. But what is more interesting is that I topped whole of India in then what was called Senior Cambridge or Indian School Certificate. So that was a glorious moment for me when I topped India. Not my school, not the entire board. And in that sense, I never performed that well. So it's been downhill.
Well, I don't know if you can say downhill, because everybody would envy, your role in the Indian legal and judiciary system, and every second case you win. So if anyone has a problem, then they know there's only one man to come to, and that's you. So how would you say it's a downhill?
No, it was meant more in jest. And in a technical sense, it's correct, because you can't top every time. But yes, God has been kind, life has been fruitful, and the different colors of life, the rainbow of life is what I enjoy. So, I have this anecdote that apart from my clerk, no one, not even my spouse, knows about a real day in my life, which in the earlier days used to be frenetically doing 5-6 cases till about 12:30 in the Supreme Court. And then you get into the car, just put on your different jacket and enter Parliament, where a Yashwant Sinha or a Arun Shori or a Venkaiah Naidu or Arun Jaitley would have just finished opening the debate. Because in Parliament, as you know, the opposition opens. I'm talking about the years when we were in power.
Yes.
And I would be the chosen person to reply to them. So I would have just gone from court, reached there, replied to the debate as an opening lead speaker for the Treasury benches. Then I'd come back to court in the afternoon, do some odds and ends, and at 4 o'clock would take a media briefing.
Oh, wow.
Now, the point is, this diversity is not good for health, no doubt.
Yes.
But this diversity is a great learning process.
Yes.
And it's also, I joke and say that if you take a similar paradigm or a similar issue, the different ways you will put the same issue in the morning in court, cold, hard, logic, volume so-and-so, page so-and-so, dry, possibly uninteresting. Same topic if you assume a similar topic. In Parliament would be a much broader canvas, a flourish, a rhetoric.
That's right.
And then in the evening at the press conference, if you assume again the same topic, then you would be having what is known as the Gagar mein Sagar, because you try to miniaturize it. You try to make the whole thing encapsulated in a single spin.
Right.
So this is a great learning process, more than anything else.
Yeah.
And I've done it countless times. There is, of course, a fourth paradigm for the same thing, which I've done once in a while on the same day. And that is, you drive down to Meerut and address a rally. That's a fourth style, a fourth model, a fourth paradigm of presentation. So all this teaches you very diverse things.
Yes, that's true. So as you just mentioned, you've been a multitasker and you've enjoyed being that. So for how many years have you been multitasking?
I think this is, as I said, a bane and a joy of my life. Ever since I think I got into public life, the multitasking has been truly stupendous. There was a lot of multitasking pre-2000 when I joined public life. But that was multitasking with law and with academic work and speaking and writing. So there is multitasking, but within a more limited sphere. From 2000 were added 2 major layers. One is public life, including Parliament from 2006 onward. And the second is media. I also happen to be the senior-most national spokesperson of the party for now decades.
Okay.
So dealing with the media, dealing with issues in Parliament, I had the privilege of being the lead speaker, the lead opening speaker for the Treasury benches for almost every important debate from 2006 to 2012 or 13. After 2014, I have been the lead speaker in almost every major opening debate for the opposition. And this is the combined opposition.
Yes.
So, with a law practice which is full-time, it creates a lot of multitask, but I enjoyed it. I must confess I enjoyed it very much, except that I said it puts a lot of mental pressure sometimes.
Yes. You've been a member of the Congress, and of course, when you speak for them, you're a part of their team. But when it comes to other political parties on alliance, I don't know if I should ask this, and then do you charge them? Because it's professional. And you're so good at it, and you speak...
Charging is, of course, a much overstated phenomenon. Let me make it clear.
I can rephrase it, but what I need to say, it's professional, so you're so good at it.
I have no problems answering as far as possible. I'm pretty candid. One of my earliest books was Candid Corner, collection of my columns, which was very, very candid. So unless it's impossible to answer on candid camera, I will try to be as honest and open with you.
So today I'm going to ask you lots of candid questions. I don't know if you're going to like it, because when someone's new, they're not doctored or engineered what to control and what not to control, but sometimes when you do things with a free flow, they turn out better and spontaneous.
I'll try my best to measure up to your questioning, but about your question about charging, let me tell you that yes, for good lawyers supposedly, or for lawyers in demand, charging is a part of the phenomenon. In fact, I always joke that if you don't charge, people start considering you not so good a lawyer.
And they take you for granted.
So, secondly, there is absolutely no problem and nothing wrong in charging what you think is appropriate.
That's right.
Both because you're dealing with a lot of corporate clients, and more than that, because nobody's compelled to pay, nobody's compelled to engage.
Yes.
However, what people miss out, and this is something which I've worn this cross for decades, a cross which I am quite happy to bear, because I know it's not the truth. A very large volume of our work is pro bono. I mean, my juniors complain sometimes that in certain months, almost 33% of my work is pro bono. That happens for a variety of reasons. Not because I'm compelled to do, not because I'm cribbing and crying. It is A, because I like the cause. That's the first reason actually. B, because it is a friend in public life, a particular party. C, it is genuine poverty and impossibility of engagement. A mix of these has meant, especially in the last 5 to 6 years, possibly definitely crossing the 25% mark, but probably 33% is pro bono. So that is something which, I don't get up and advertise on Angie's show and say, look, I've got a placard saying, look, my 100 rupees includes 33 pro bono. That's not the way it works. But people know, people understand. And of course, people pull legs, because lawyers anyway are, as they say, the old saying was about lawyers, he rescued his client's estate to keep it for himself.
Yes.
There are so many jibes about lawyers.
Yes.
They learn to get on, then honor, and then honest in that order.
Yes.
So this is part of the profession. We have fun, we have games, we have jokes.
Yes.
But the reality is that a lot of responsible lawyers, leading lawyers, top lawyers, and I don't say it about myself, a lot of my colleagues do a lot of pro bono. And certainly when you are asked in a deserving case, you never say no. It's a different matter that, you are a fake person, you come to me with a fake cause, and you try and exploit me, or you try and take a personal advantage, and then I might say no. But otherwise, you hardly ever say no.
Yes.
Subject to, of course, availability is a problem. I'll give you one more example. Animals. I'm very pro animals. I've done many animal charity cases.
Oh, okay.
So it's just an example.
That's interesting. Yes.
So political, public, poverty, indigency, animal-related cases, and above all of them, causes. Underprivileged cause, a liberty cause.
That's right.
The underdog's cause.
Yes.
These have to enthuse you, and you do it then.
Yes, that's true. So when you started your career, did you have any struggle? Did you have your first... I know your family, you come from a family of lawyers, and so does, I think, your wife's family also has a lot of legal background.
No, let me tell you. My wife's family has nothing to do with law.
Okay.
The first time she became legal in inverted commas is when
she married you. Okay.
Otherwise, I joke and say it is illegal.
Okay.
But my family certainly is a family with law from my grandfather's time, not my father's time.
Okay.
And my father had the privilege of having reached the zenith of his profession. So it is rightly said that we were born with a silver or a golden spoon. And I entirely agree with it. But what does it mean in practice? For a litigator, not so much for a firm or for a solicitor's firm or for an office, which is more chamber work, advisory work. For a litigator, being born with a golden spoon means basically only this, that you are given a great start in life, A. B, the average person will say, look, he has a good legacy, a good lineage, he can't be that bad. He's so-and-so's son, so let's try him out. And it gives you the benefit of doubt for the first 3 months, maximum 6 months. That's it.
That's true.
Now, after that push, after what I call the presumption of competence and decency, it's a rebuttable presumption. And after your first 3 to 5 appearances, if you go and make a fool of yourself, if you are not competent, if you don't burn the midnight oil, if you're not hardworking, if you're not diligent, if you're not focused, then let me tell you, it's a completely mistaken notion.
That's true.
Extreme good luck may carry you from 3 months to 6 months, but it's a cruel profession out there.
Yes.
There are no prisoners taken.
Yes, that's
so. It is something which is overstated again, just like the pro bono point I made earlier.
Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right, because I've seen that you have to prove your own, you have to make your own path and earn your own respect.
With the initial push, no doubt.
Yes.
Initially, there's a big push.
Yes.
And it is based on a presumption that you should be good and competent because you're so-and-so's family.
Yes.
And, if you are that, then that push continues.
Yes.
But it ultimately depends, and I would say more than competence. Ultimately depends on hard work.
Yes.
I know enough, children of top professionals, industrialists, and of course lawyers who have just given up hard work. But I equally know of top professionals whose sons have done outstandingly well, not about myself, because of sheer dint of hard work and commitment.
That's right. So that I totally agree. It all is your effort and how you prove yourself and how you deliver and how you work. And there's a common belief that only so-and-so son in any profession, whichever, or it doesn't have to be legal. In any profession, they have to sooner or later prove themselves. Yes, you can get a little benchmark, but beyond that, it's all your own work after that. So your earlier years, you got some very good projects from the start, thanks to your family background?
In my case, a lot of the family background was neutralized and reversed for a different reason.
Okay.
I joined effective practice pretty late because I was doing PhD, which is rarely done in law, and also teaching for a while doing PhD at Cambridge in England, Trinity College, Cambridge, which meant that I became a lawyer early in the 80s. But I enrolled as a lawyer because you're entitled to on your first degree. But I actually started practice much later. So the result was that my father was here in the profession for only about 4 odd years.
Okay.
After I had started active practice. And there was a boost, there was a great name he had. He's an outstanding person, multifaceted and all that. But in 1991, he was appointed India's High Commissioner to UK with cabinet rank. And he served as the longest as India's High Commissioner to UK after Krishna Menon for up to 98 and early 99.
Right.
So in the basic formative period of my so-called push, he was not here.
So
he was self-exiled.
Yes.
I think what worked for me, among others, was a very strange, unrealized point, which people, frankly, a PhD is futile in law because it doesn't add anything. It's not necessary in law. I found that it gave me a benefit of doubt amongst judges and lawyers that, look, here must be an erudite person. It's a complete presumption. It need not be true at all.
That's true.
But it gave me a push. And then I, possibly for a variety of reasons I can't say, I became India's youngest designated senior advocate at age 34 in 1993.
Okay.
There again, you have a presumption for a while. And you were standing up against the Solis and the Falis of that time, and you were actually shivering in your pants. The only friend you had at that time was your midnight oil till 2 o'clock the last night.
That's true.
And you would stand there with all your little self. You were designated a senior advocate because I became an additional Solicitor General also at 37 in 1997. So both these, of course, give you a big boost. But then you need to overcome your lack of experience because that's something you can't get overnight with sheer hard work, and you'll have to learn a lot. So I guess I just plowed on, and I can tell you I was terrified at many moments. But it's a learning process.
So who were your real, I would say, opponents? Who were your lawyers who you were competing with in those years? I know those, but now we all are friends, and I think everyone's very mature, and the way of thinking has changed now. But in the earlier years, it was a very competitive atmosphere.
No, it's very competitive even now. See, litigators are a competitive lot.
Yes.
I always believe that unlike other professionals, litigators function in each other's eye contact all the time.
Yes.
The doctor does have colleagues, but he's within rooms doing work. Architects, engineers, industrialists, they work differently. A litigator is confined to 4 or 5 spaces, public spaces in Delhi, for example, Supreme Court, High Court, Tisadari, Shadra, etc. And everybody's watching everybody else.
Yes.
If you have nothing to do, you just watch me. And if I have nothing to do, I'll just be jealous of you.
Right.
That why are you doing so many things?
That's right.
So it's a very competitive profession by nature.
Right.
And you're not bothered about the good or the bad the person is doing, just because why is he doing something which I'm not doing?
Right.
This is unfortunately inherent in the profession. As we grow older, as we grow to be leaders of the bar, we forget about it, but that's there, right there. So at every level there is competition. But I think on the contrary, the standards have changed. There was a standard of decency in the older days, which I've seen amongst my father and his colleagues and his peers.
Right.
I somehow find that a lot of that has declined over the years. It has become more narrow. It has also become divided into tiny walls of party political affiliations.
Yes.
More sectarian, more community, more state-based. These are all things I don't like about the profession. I believe that in the profession, you ultimately first and foremost are a lawyer. You're not a BJP lawyer or a Congress.
Yes, that's why.
You're not a Uttar Pradeshi lawyer or a Rajasthani.
Yes, that's right.
You're not a Kayas lawyer or a Bania lawyer.
Yes.
You know, that kind of, it is always there. I'm not saying the old days were glorious days.
Yes.
But the degree was less. And I think we must bring down the degree as we go along.
Yes.
I genuinely believe in that.
Yeah. I've often thought that, you're now in the Congress party, and you have a lot of friends who are lawyers like Mr. Chidambaram or Kapil Sibalji or, so many others. Have you ever thought that you all are so famous and so successful that if you all 5-6 of you all just made a firm, association, you'll be probably one of the world's... Well, you'll be one of the world's best renowned firms. And it would take India to another level.
That's a sweet question, a nice question, but a question which has its own answer. And a simple answer to that. I know it's meant as a compliment, but the laws of law practice in the Bar Council prohibit any such firm making. A senior counsel cannot be part of a firm. I can't be part of a firm my own son. Leave aside 5 of us. 1, 2.
Okay.
Each of the names you've taken and many, many more are dear good friends.
Yes, I know.
We have appeared against each other.
Yes.
We have appeared with each other.
Yes.
And let me tell you, I may not like you very much in the beginning, but as time grows, there's a difference between profession and business. You realize that he's doing well, but he's your peer.
Yes.
And there is something in him which you admire.
Yes, that's
This
true.
is something which slowly comes.
With
and
time.
each person has something to teach you and give you.
Yes.
He may have quality X.
Yes.
So you don't have to look at the ABC quality. You look at X and then you try and a matter of fact, I believe that if all one of us, or each one of us in the top,
Yes.
possibly imitates some element of the other,
Yes.
subconsciously.
Yes.
Because we all realize that these are peers. And peer recognition, peer respect is ultimately the best form of compliment.
That's right.
You may not be on a personal plane because, naturally the nature of the profession means you're fighting each other every day.
Yes.
The second thing is we fight each other, we come out and we actually try and forget what has happened inside court. It remains somewhere in the back of the mind. It's too idealistic to say it doesn't, but then it is not carried to the canteen or to the... Thirdly, it's a convivial profession because with judges, when you have a retirement or a farewell, so you meet them every other day in the evening. So, it's a very strange dialectic. It's not the same for industrialists. It's not the same for competing rivals. It may not even be the same for other professions. Being in the public eye and standing up, because each time you stand up, you have a rival lawyer, you have two anxious clients behind, a possibly hostile judge, and the whole room looking at you. And everybody is looking at you to fail. So it's a highly tension-ridden atmosphere.
Yes.
And thereafter to still have conviviality and collegiality is vital.
Yes, that's true. So let me ask you, which are your top 5 favorite cases or cases where you feel they were tough and you won and you made your client win?
See, frankly, Angie, it's invidious because it's like saying, who's your favorite child?
Yes.
But if I was forced to do that, I was asked this question by the publisher of the Juggernaut publisher who asked me to write a book.
Okay.
And she said, I have space only for 10 of your cases or 8 of your best cases.
Okay.
So I told her the same thing. But then I was forced to choose. And I chose one from human rights. I chose different topics.
Yes.
So in human rights, my favorite, again, as I said, favorite in inverted commas, I've got many other favorites.
Many favorites, but
D.K. Basu, where I was at a very young age appointed a amicus curiae. Amicus curiae means the court appoints you, and I was appointed very young. And then I went through it for 20 years. We have 3 to 4 D.K. Basu judgments. They lay down the entire commandments for custodial death and custodial torture. So when to arrest you, how to arrest you, how to inform the next of kin, how to minimize infractions of human rights while you're in custody. That's that. On commercial side, I did a commercial constitutional matter. Those days used to have used to have yellow pages.
Yes.
It's a far cry. You don't realize you didn't have any internet. You didn't have any mobile phone.
Yes.
So yellow pages you turn to. You didn't have the Zomato and the...
Yes.
And the issue which we decided in that case was that commercial free speech, that is advertising in the yellow pages, is also free speech and is protected by normal free speech 19(1)(a) article in our constitution.
Okay.
That is path breaking. There's a story behind that which I don't have time to tell you, but it is a path breaking.
Sure.
The third was the Tata Mistry case, which travelled and wound its way up from the bottom layer up. And it was a very sensational case. It was within a very major corporate family. So I was privileged to do that. A fourth one in the commercial field, not in the book though, would be the Vodafone tax matter, where a fifth one, not in that book though, would be the Mukesh Ambani and the Anil Ambani family dispute. In these two, I played a lesser role because the court turned in our favor on the first few points. Somebody else argued and I didn't have to argue much.
Okay.
But in the book, there are other categories, apart from corporate and constitutional. There are issues of religious rights. I have been privileged to do the Santhara case and Sabrimala case, exclusion of women's entry, and things like that involving religious freedom issues, and so on and so forth. So there's a large, and of course a lot of political cases, a huge number of political cases. They go on even now as we talk.
Yes. But you said you did the case for Mukesh and Anil Ambani in their family dispute. How do you feel today, families, having seen such a well-known family and old family of India, having gone through this, how do you advise people in their succession plans?
You'll be surprised that
and settlement plans.
Any genuinely top senior counsel, how much we push for settlement and non-litigation. Even on the evening before when you are briefing me for tomorrow's case, if there's the slightest scope of settlement, I will advise settlement.
Yes.
That's one. Two, this kind of a size of corporate dispute is not easily settled.
Yes.
We are now talking of mega figures.
Yes.
I think everybody tried before the matter exploded on the public scene. I don't think the family would not have tried. I would always advise everybody to go through that. And today, when that case happened, our mechanisms for mediation and settlement were much less robust. They are now much more robust. In fact, this country is now experiencing a mediation revolution. We have a brand new, glittering new mediation act, which is doing very well. And I've examined it. I've spoken on that recently at Pepperdine University, the world's #1 in mediation. So it is going to give a big boost. You have now lawyers doing much more mediation. So the first advice would be, yes, in such matters, do that first. It is always a better option. But the second point is that when it can't work out, then today there are commercial courts. They're supposed to be faster courts. And it does cause distress. There is no doubt about that. But then, at least it leads to some finality somewhere. No finality is perfect. It leaves both sides equally dissatisfied, not equally satisfied, which is good. But there is a finality in the Supreme Court. That's about it.
Yeah. So, but how would you advise, because you know a lot of people's personal issues and things which the rest of us don't know. How would you advise corporate families today to structure their businesses and everything?
I believe that first and foremost, so long as the patriarch is alive, every family has a patriarch, the elder.
Yes.
So long as he's alive, it's his bounden duty to
settle it that time.
Settle it, write it down,
before,
divide it. You will find that the authority which I as a patriarch exercise over the rest of the family is very different when I'm gone. However loving they are, they'll never agree. Just the sheer existence of me will be.
Yes.
You'll be surprised how many forget to do it, or how many leave it for a later date.
Or they don't know what to do and be diplomatic.
Or they're just being hesitant. They say, okay, we'll do it tomorrow, next week. Then tomorrow, next week never comes.
And it leads to big problems.
The second is that you have to go through mediation once you start fighting, assuming that the patriarch is not settled it.
Yes.
The third is that after that, you have no option, you have to go to court, and you should do it to the court way. It is happening in other manner which is much worse. Sniping. I mean, almost every major corporate dispute, I'm doing it between all families, have this problem. But it's much better to get it settled by court, because once court starts, having mediation failed, having patriarch failed, then at least it closes some point of time. And normally, let me tell you, it closes at between the first and the third ladder.
Okay.
Because you lose or win one side, and the top ladder is the Supreme Court. You are tired out by
the whole exercise. Yes. So do you feel we need to, for all these personal family issues, divorce cases, personal issues involving family issues, are the laws now faster for settlement? Are the judges taking decisions faster? Are the legal processes changed?
See, don't mix up divorce. That's a separate branch of law, family law.
Yes.
That's a very personalized thing.
Yes.
You're talking of corporate family disputes.
Yes.
There, yes, as I said, we have a most robust mechanism for mediation. We never had it till 1 year ago.
That's something new.
And that is very institutionalized. More than that, the awareness for mediation is growing. I was part of a delegation way back in 93 to 97. And we studied the Californian system, which is number one in the world, the inventor of ADR, Alternative Dispute Resolution. And it was our report submitted to the Chief Justice of India at that time, Justice Ahmadi, which led to the enactment of Section 89 on the Civil Procedure Code, which gives a menu of ADR options. So when I come to fight you in court, before we start the fight, you get a menu of conciliation, mediation, arbitration, lok adalat, so on and so forth.
Yes.
Now, that is now trebly or quadruply strengthened by Mediation Act of 2023. And plus, as I said, for them the speed is also expedited by the commercial courts. That's again an act of 2013 or 14. So since then, the mechanisms are much better. The faith in the system's speed is also improving. You don't have to go through the agonizing. Of course, the speed in an Indian court will remain, at least the delay will remain 3 times any other court.
Right.
But it is half, I would say, of what it used to be earlier.
Okay. As you know now, the hot topic is the Constitution of India. And everybody is asking that there is going to be a change. If people are talking, is there going to be a change? The people of India are worried that will there be a change, and if there is a change, to what extent will things be changed? Because I think we have a very good fundamental constitution as of now, and that has been made, and which people treat like, in a way, the Bible for our country to look back on.
See, this is a very long question. It can be the subject matter of a full program by itself, but I'll try to be as brief as possible.
Yes.
It is the first and foremost the constitutional values ethos, the spirit of the Constitution, which is more necessary to protect than the text.
Yes.
Do you know that you can change the Constitution radically without changing a single word in it? Because you can decimate the spirit ethos. Constitution works by conventions, by past precedents, by constitutional silences.
Yes.
What the Constitution does not say.
Yes.
by a certain reciprocal respect between you and me, who are two constitutional organs.
Yeah.
Everything is not written down: when you will get up, when you will go and have dinner, when you will go to the bathroom, how you will do it. It's not written down. It is based on these things.
Yeah.
So that's point number one. Over the years, and why it is said more so now, is because an attempt is made to micromanage. An attempt is made to have vendetta politics. An attempt is made to weaponize certain agencies. An attempt is made to devalue certain other constitutional institutions. Now, these institutions take a long time to take root. When Nehru established them, they took root only because he was around as Prime Minister for almost 15 years. Had he died early, unfortunately, he nurtured them.
Yes.
But it's very easy to make the Election Commission a laughing stock of the nation.
Yes.
Just a few things can do that. It takes decades for it to build up.
Yeah.
It's very easy to snipe at the judiciary and weaken it, dilute its authority, delay its appointments, make comments in and out which intimidate. It is very easy to make the CAG a puppet of your caprice.
Yes.
I'm giving only examples.
Yes.
Now that is the change in the constitution ethos, that is one. The second is the fundamentals of the constitution. You have to be vigilant. Secularism is a very abused word. But the idea of carrying everybody together, the idea of fraternity, a fraternal spirit, lack of divisiveness, appreciating the pluralism. India is the world's most pluralistic spot on planet Earth.
That's right.
Unless you respect that, realizing that the Constitution gives rights against majorities precisely because it felt that the minorities deserve to be protected. The whole purpose of a Constitution is to give rights against majority.
That's right.
Otherwise, the majority would rule. Why do I need a Constitution? The Constitution is a bulwark.
Yes.
So, unless you instill these values in your governance, and I have no hesitation in saying there is a clear, measurable diminution in those values in the last decade.
Right.
Unless you do that, you are in fact altering the Constitution without altering the Constitution.
Yes.
The third is, of course, if you have a autocratic majority. It's good that you have a majority to do a lot of things you do good for the nation. But equally, to have a unassailable majority is sometimes an invitation to start tinkering with the text of the Constitution.
Which is not a good idea.
Which is not at all a good idea.
Yes. So that's something that people of India
basics.
also need to understand that, because you cannot give power to anybody. Forget in politics, even in a business, if you give too much power to the CEO, he can...
that corrective can come only from the people.
Yes.
That is the burden of our song in the current elections.
Yes.
And the corrective is not a rejection or an acceptance.
Yes.
It's like that thing that Mahout uses on an elephant.
Yes.
He's got that thing, the spike. It just tells you that, look, the ankush is there.
Yes.
You must be medium, faster or slower.
Yes.
So these are things which are necessary in a democratic policy, but that depends on the perspicacity and the maturity of the electorate.
Yes. Now, again, media is being also, controlled in a large way. And what does the Constitution say? The right to freedom of speech is being curtailed indirectly.
It's quite remarkable that there is no right to a right of the press written as such in the Constitution.
But there's a right to freedom of speech.
Yet, right from the 50s. Imagine the status given to the press by calling it a fourth estate. So you have three pillars recognized in the Constitution. The judges and the civil society have given the status of those three pillars to a fourth pillar not recognized in the Constitution. That is the press. So you have treated press freedom as part of the clause which gives you free speech without it being mentioned.
Okay.
So when I give you such a high status, it is your obligation to live up to that status.
Yes.
Today, I am again sadly but without hesitation saying that there is far less of sense, far more of sensationalism.
Yes.
There is and this is particularly bad in the visual media, it's catching up in the print media also. There is a very dangerous cocktail in the visual media.
Yes.
Of, I would say, virtually terrorist anchors. I'm talking of verbal terrorism.
Yes.
Premeditated guest speakers.
Yes.
Pre-screened answers. Completely biased, one-sided views. spewing forth day and out. Why do you think the phrase Godi media was invented? Was it invented by me today or by you?
No.
Why has it been there for the last decade?
Yeah.
Because, that is the way it is.
But
now how can you be calling yourself the fourth estate, the pillar of democracy, like a judiciary, executive and legislature, and then behave like this? Exactly. Would you like the judiciary to be a Godi judiciary?
Nobody would.
So therefore, this reform has to come from within.
That's the thing. People have to make the country. It's the people who make India. Like you have made India proud with your work. Similarly, the public has to decide that the media is what the government is doing, or let me rephrase it, what the current system, what is going on currently is wrong, or the media has to take responsibility.
So therefore, it is not the people will come second. First is the media has to reform from within. See, today I am not a votary of external control.
Yes.
You're doing very badly.
Yes.
And I deserve to control you. And you deserve to be controlled.
Yes.
But I still would not want to control you. Because external interference is much worse. But today you don't find the internal controls of the media. Why doesn't the media, they have bodies. I mean, the bodies are largely toothless.
Yes.
But they have bodies.
Yes.
Why can't they ostracize or demean or shame these parts of the Godi media?
Yes.
Media does speak about it.
Yeah.
But the seniors, the collectivity has to consistently and for long enough shame them. There is a very great power in public shaming.
Yes.
But, it's a divided media. Just like it's a divided legal profession, it may also be partially divided judiciary.
Yes.
So I take glee in your discomfiture and, I don't like your growth.
But as a lot of the media are run by the media channels or the newspaper run by top media houses who've been some of them have been in business for the last 50 years. What is pressurizing them that they were earlier all okay, they could speak both sides or all four sides, and all of a sudden it's only one side?
Well, clearly that is a question you have to ask of the ruling government.
We are a country of 1.4 billion and you cannot have 2 people or 3 people or 5 people running, deciding everything. And what's surprising is that everybody is following it.
There's a 3 or 4 points answer to your question, very important question. First of all, that question you asked has to be asked of the ruling system because why did it change dramatically in the last 10 years?
Yes.
It's a way of thinking.
Yeah.
You, with all their faults, and I'm not at all covering up any fault, with all the faults, all previous governments had a strong liberal spirit.
Yeah.
And I include the BJP government in that.
Yeah.
I include Vajpayee's government.
Yes.
This beginning of the end of liberalism in any form.
Yes.
Dress, habit, speech, thought, interaction, free expression.
Yeah.
This beginning of the end started in 2014. Number 2, the media has not done sufficient introspection itself by setting up mechanisms of social ostracism and shaming. Number 3, the governmental mechanisms in the statute are toothless tigers, and neither tigers nor do they have teeth. Press Council of India can do nothing.
Yes.
And fourth and foremost, I think, is something which is languishing in this country for 20-30 years. Most people have forgotten about it. It's a broadcasting bill.
Okay.
There's one secret you must know about the media. By and large, the beginning of the negativity and the fawning and the Godi media starts from the top, not from the bottom.
That's my question.
The middle journalist and the lower journalist is actually true to his profession in a far greater degree than the top. Now the top is because there are clear conflict of interest. The broadcasting bill was introduced in this country 30 years ago to create Chinese walls between your ownership and your media running. That bill has not been passed for 30 years.
Why?
All governments have been complicit because there are vested interests. Vested interests. Now, if you create Chinese walls between owners who have industrial interests, so you run a coal company, I run a toy shop, I also have media on the side. So if you make the broadcasting bill with Chinese walls stating and stipulating conflict of interest, the Chinese wall will first protect the editor on the top.
Yes.
And then through he will protect the middle journalist.
Right.
And that is a must in this country because I have no doubt that this is now seen a decline of the worst kind in its history.
That's what is surprising, that all the old renowned newspaper channels, promoters or the channels or social media channels who have come up under different brands also, some of them are old world families of India who have seen India, or their fathers or grandfathers have seen India from the time of independence. Yes, the bill has not been passed, so a bit of both sides have to, would have done it. All sides earn the coin. But the issue here is that why is it so drastically changed?
It's mainly a sense of fear. You see, you have multiple interests. You have multiple conflicts of interest. And I don't blame them beyond a point because they are industrialists with a lot of finger in the pie of industry. And there is fear.
But
fear stalks the land.
Don't own media channels. I'm talking about the owners.
The ones who own.
Because of media channels.
No, I'm talking only those. You're talking only of the media.
Yes.
Unfortunately, for it to be viable, you need an industrial house behind in most cases.
Yes.
Therefore, most of the major ones, visual or print, are owned by those.
Yes.
And therefore, the conflict of interest arises. That's why the bill was passed, but the bill was introduced and never passed. But and you need to create that strictly is number one answer.
Yes.
Number two answer is that there is a good countervailing force coming up in this country, the so-called social media. They must become responsible.
Yes.
In that there's a lot of fake news out there.
Yes.
Why they must become responsible is because there is greater objectivity if it is not fake news.
Yes.
If it's a genuine social media and people today go and hear those truths, which you don't find the truth in the print media or the vision.
Yes.
So they must also be wary of the bad apples in their basket who create fake news.
Right.
Otherwise, the social media is doing a great job. And ultimately, as I said, the people are the best judge. Once the channel's viewership will decline, saying, look, this is spewing garbage every day from 8 to 10.
Yes.
It is doing, I told you, the worst kind of cocktail of verbal terrorism.
Yes.
I mean, how can these people be called journalists? I don't want to name them. There are some in our blacklisted list.
Yes.
They can't be called journalists. They are vitiated anchors. They are anchors with absolutely no dharma of press.
Yes.
But unless and until the viewer punishes that channel, they see the cocktail. Content is decided by the biggest fraud in media, which is TRP.
Yes.
35,000 or 40,000 machines scattered around India decide TRP ratings. I used to joke it's the Nobel Prize for miniaturization.
It could be like the EVM.
No, but see, that 40,000 says that you, Anjaleka, is the highest watched channel at 8 o'clock. Once it says that, then the advertiser gives you the maximum money.
Yes.
Then Anjaleka spews more garbage.
Yes.
Because she's got more advertisement.
Yes.
You follow?
Yes.
That's the way it works.
Yes.
So it's a vicious circle.
Yes.
Unless you stop this fraud of TRP, that's the fifth reform, you will be keeping in... content will be decided by TRP. And TRP is a fraudulent system.
Yes. So you can basically buy TRPs also, or they are doctored, or they are...
No, first thing is that the TRP, as far as the visual channels are concerned, is not even a drop in the ocean. How can 38,000 meters put here and there, and many times premeditated households decide the viewership? And then they tout those figures saying, look, this shows that I was the highest watched, therefore give me the maximum ad, and the industrialists give the maximum ad there.
So I feel from what you're saying is the time has come that one, the people have to decide, two, the media promoters have to decide, do they want to contribute to their country?
Absolutely.
It's not about any political party, and that's what my show is about, not about political parties or being controlled. It's about the truth.
Yeah, but then, this is expecting too much to have that nobility of thought in every media.
You can do it in a subtle way.
It's very good if they have that thought, then nothing will be wrong in the first place.
No, now things have come right to breaking point. That's why they need to wake up. Everyone's tolerated it and not said anything for so many years. Businessmen, I understand, who are pure industrialists, that they have a lot to lose because of their industries, their factories.
They should not mix it up with the media thing.
Yeah, no, that's different. But coming back to media, in a way it's interlinked, because you mentioned a lot of industrial houses. I'm talking of, there are certain media houses which are not in business, or at least we don't know if they have other businesses, but mainly are known for those old world business houses of India. Now at least those families or promoters have to now put we are also responsible Indians. Agreed, they have to protect their business interests. Everyone has to.
There you will find less of degradation. Where
it's too much now.
Only media business is the only business. The degradation is there, much lesser.
Yes.
Because your conflict in 5 other industries is less.
Yes.
But ultimately, if your goodness comes out of your own heart and you take self-corrective, nothing, that's always the best. All this is required because you cannot expect the goodness of humanity to come out. You have to expect the worst. Prepare for the hope for the best, prepare for the worst.
See, it's like everybody does, all the big industrialists or the media houses do CSR. This would be the best CSR to the nation they can do. I
Very noble thought.
Yeah, it's a very, we are the ones who have to make our nation and progress it to be a superpower. So if we are going to live in a nation where everyone is scared, how will you be a superpower?
I cannot agree with you more. Unfortunately, I am more cynical or more realistic than you.
Yes, I know maybe I'm speaking with, being very naive. But
not naive. I think it's a very noble thought. It should be done.
But it's the biggest CSR you can quietly. Okay, if you don't want to be very vocal about it for all different reasons, you can gradually do it. You can subtly do it. There are a lot of ways, layers between layers, where you can contribute in this.
Absolutely.
And it's not contributing to any individual or person. It's contributing to your country, where you are born and where you have worked and you have grown. Even a media house. Well, the media houses were only first newspaper. Today they are newspaper, print, digital, layers, and so and today the world looks at Indian media. So Indian media is huge.
And frankly, if they get out of their mental shackles, they have nothing to lose.
Yes.
They have to only lose their inhibitions.